guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Up, and today we are going to be talking about books that I read in June. But before I do that, sigh of relief, my family's okay in Jamaica. Minor issues, still don't have power, but we'll take that compared to what could have been. And I also want to highlight a little love and strength and all of that for people who weren't so lucky and having to start over, and those who don't know how they're going to start over, and not just in Jamaica but other islands that was affected by this hurricane. Be supportive if you can, and pray for those who are absolutely going to need help to start over. So yeah, it's been a trying week. But I'm very grateful that my family is okay. So June was all about Caribbean and celebration of Caribbean Heritage Month. So of course I've read a lot of Caribbean books, and I reviewed pretty much all of them. I only read one book that was not by a Caribbean author, and that was from the book selected in the jar. So I'm going to save that one for last because that one was special. Yeah, y'all already know why. So these books I reviewed already. I will link them, so I won't go into detail. So this video hopefully won't be long because I've already spoke about these books. So Sweet as Sugar, Lord, I can't talk today. And other story, this is Camille Hernandez-Ramdwar. So this is a collection of short story, and it was so good. It was so good. I had this on my TBR last year. I never got to it, and it just like a sense of everything that she put in this storyline. Now I do feel that they connect, but not in a way that I thought at first when I just was reading them. Like I was trying to figure out what is the theme. You know, collectively short story, you kind of have a theme and a message. And this one, but however, had some different kind of story, different kind of characters, but they still have some form of common where you would think of survival, where you think of their strength, where you think of family, where you think of what would you do to survive, that kind of deal. There are some political things in this as well that I thought was interesting, but there's sense of Caribbean, sense of communities in this. Characters that were Cuban, characters that were Jamaican, characters that were Trinidadian, some living abroad, and different generational things. That's what happening in this. Absolutely a really good collection of short story, and highly recommend that you guys get into this. Then the book that next is a reread for me. It was the actual group read, and that is The Village Weavers and Miriam J.A. Chansey. So me and Karen from Run Right Read, we did a live discussion. So after you read this, go check out the live discussion, comment. Love to hear your opinion on how you feel about this book after you read it. I love the discussion, and I really appreciate everyone who picked this book up, read it with us, and joined us in the chat. That's all I'm giving you for that, because you already know I reviewed that book quite a few times on this. All right, for Autopsy. This is Christina Cook, and this is a book that I thought, as much as this cover was not it for me, I really enjoyed this in a way that I thought was different. I think this is one of those ones that you are going to be divided, where some people are going to want more, and there's some people like me who like that bits and pieces of things that were left out for the reader to kind of, you know, have this thought process with it. This is definitely a discussion book. I do think it's not for everybody in sense of the ending. But ending like this, I love. I get some kind of joy about certain books when it ends like this. But I do like that this book really digs into grief. It digs into belonging. It digs into sexuality within a cultural setting, and which can affect that when you think of a character who's Jamaican, and after losing her mother and being shipped with her, I mean, her father packed them up and took them to America, and having that part taken away, and then you lose your brother from the same illness that your mother had, and now you are heading back to Jamaica to see your sister, the only sibling you have left, and hoping to have some kind of connection to her, some kind of way of expressing yourself and releasing the loneliness and the grief and the things that you're not quite getting with your family as in anyone else. And I like that part of the story, how it's told. But at the same time, it dig into things about my culture that is rough, especially someone who looks very much like they are gay, and when in fact they are, and what is the life and how dangerous and not open you can be like you want to be in that cultural setting. I thought that was interesting, but then also there's that religious aspect in this that I thought also was very powerful in the story. But again, this definitely could have a spin-off. There's a comment that somebody made, they wanted more from the sister, and quite frankly, the sister story will probably take over the book, because I find that the sister in this was very fascinated, and I would love if the author would do a spin-off and give the sister story, because there's so much that you don't know in this story about the sister. You get that she has this harsh external surface and this way of her escaping her father and going back to Jamaica, and really what's the full story of what she felt and why she was so compelled to go back home. You don't really get a lot of that in this, and I think that's why there's an idea that more could have been done, but I think the focus was on the one sister, not necessarily both, and I think that's why the story, I think that's the whole idea of the author to me. So yeah. And then the book is one of my favorite books this year. Hands down, everything about this book is absolutely amazing. I don't know how this book has not been awarded for stuff. And that is The Island of Forgetting, and this is Jasmine Seeley. This book, the writing, the storyline, this is a family saga, generation of things happening, of trauma, of the cycle going, and how they breaking it. And it's written in a way where you don't know how the author is going to end this, because you're thinking there's so much trauma. How is she going to like pull this together and give you this ending that is going to give this book and this storyline justice? And she did that. Oh, she did that. If you don't read no book on this list that I'm giving you right now that I've read, pick this one up. This is Barbados author, and she wrote the hell out of this book, and absolutely recommend it. Absolutely say go get into this. Put it on your TBR, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. And after you read this, come back. Come back to either this or the actual review that I did. Go check out the review and let me know how you really feel about it. Because this was, butter. Then we have another family saga, and this one I read after. This is The House of Plain Truth, and Donna Himmons. Let me tell you. This is a story that, okay, the setup of the story is the father is dying, and the main character went back to Jamaica after about 30 years. And she got there just in time before her father died, and he wanted her to find them. So you're like, who is them? And why do she needs to find them? And that is the setup of the story. Now, the author do drag, but it's in a way where you still want to know. You're still in there for the shenanigans of the other siblings who are not quite nice people. And also, he's haunting her, and she's not sleeping until she's able to do exactly what he wants. And which is very much what you expect sometimes when you think of the death in especially Caribbean, Jamaican culture. You know, somebody dream you, you better figure it out, that kind of deal. So it gives you that in this, and you do get to that end where you realize what it was. But there's also moments in this I find interesting where it's her remembering his dream and memory, but stuff like that was suppressed like coming to life. And there's that history behind those who went to Cuba to work, or those who went to Panama to work. There's a lot of history behind that I thought was interested and made me want to like read a little bit more, find a bit more, because I know so much about the Panama Canal situation, but not so much about those who went to Cuba to work. And so I like that part of the story, and I find it interesting because of the fact that I like historical fiction. So I like going back and learning some of that history in Jamaica. I thought that was interesting, and I think that's why I like the book. But I do think that it wasn't perfect because of the build-up of how it started. Somewhere along the line, it came more about her and finding out the family's secret versus more of who's them kind of deal, which is sort of like the both, but it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I did not think it's a perfect book. I do feel like it could have been better, but nevertheless, I was still in it. Like, I still was like, okay, what's next? I still wanted to turn the pages, which is still, I think, decent for me. But it's a strong 3-star. I wouldn't necessarily give it 4, but it's a strong 3-star. So then we have some romance. So I wanted some Caribbean romance. It's just gonna happen. It needed to happen. So we're gonna start with Relzy Adam. Lord, let me get her name right. And she is Antigua. She's from Antigua. And this first one I read was Love Scammed. And this is basically 2 individuals were conned by their people who love them. One thought they were going on a girls trip, and the other one thought it was going on a business trip. And they did not find out until they got to the airport that no, none of their person that was supposed to travel them was making it, and why, and that they were actually being conned and set up. And they were able to get bribed and their friends use ways to get them to actually agree to go to Turks and Caicos. This is one island that's on my bucket list, so I was here for it. And while they're there, they're getting to know each other. They're dealing with the fact that they both felt misled and not too happy about the situation, but they made the best of it to the point that they bonded and things happened, and there's that chemistry that just was there from the get-go. That happened. Love it. It was sweet. It was very romantic. It was definitely screaming Caribbean, and I love that. The next one is a wild one. Oh, it's wild. We wild in this one, and this is a shorter one, and this is basically a man, a couple pretty much. They're married and they have a poly relationship where they have boyfriends, girlfriend, that kind of deal. And they have one mutual person who happened to be connected to them, but they did not know until they decided to meet this individual, and they realized this one was already in one person's life, the other one was actually corresponding through online, and it just matched. It was kinky. The smut was smutting. Yeah, she went there with this one. It is it's fun. It's hardcore though. I ain't gonna even lie, y'all. So if you're not into that kind of risque smut, don't pick this one up. It's juicy. So now let's talk about the fact that the book that was selected for June out of the subscriber jar won the Woman's Prize. Alright, Charlie, were you rooting for this one? I don't think I watched your latest video of your prediction stuff, but you wanted me to read this. And I think, but Charlie been a subscriber for a while, so I think she has an idea of books that I would like or books that I would find interesting. So I mean, I feel like she knows she knows me. Brotherless Night. Let's talk about it. I'm still struggling with the name, guys. I'm still struggling with the VV. Ganesha Nathaniel? I don't know. I think I can't. I'm sorry. I apologize. What do you think of civil war within ethnic groups? politics, education, right and wrong, belonging, women rights, women's value, the question of what are we fighting for? Are we on the right side? Did we lose our way? Are we still fighting the same fight? These are questions that you will get through this book. And you have a young girl. It started out in 1981, I believe. I think it was 1981. It went over a couple of years. And you have this story set in Sri Lanka. You have a young 16-year-old girl who aspired to be a doctor. And in this story, you're getting from her pursuing to get into the school she wanted to actually being in the school and practicing, but in a vulnerable situation because there's a civil war happening where there's a ethnic group who wants to be separated, but there's political things happening and they cannot, loss of life, and so there's that radical group that comes out of it, Tiger, and there is that idea of how they started, why they started, but there's things that's happening within that group that is not good, as well as the government who are doing things that also is not good. And this is a fight that goes over quite some years. And while she is in school, she meets a professor who is very much a feminist, who very much wanted to know more. She felt very much connected to the woman, where she started spewing and telling things about her personal life in terms of the first brother who died, killed, and the other brothers who joined the cause, and the how it affects the family. There's times where the family had to get from one side to the next, especially in the beginning with the grandmother, and trying to survive, and why one never survived, that kind of deal. It was very dangerous. It was very much a survival thing, but they still had this kind of family bonding in the story that you saw. And she is now, because there's that idea, I am a doctor, and it doesn't matter if I'm so-called for a cause or not, I'm compelled to save someone's life. I'm compelled to treat someone. So she is now treating those people who are considered the T word. I don't even know if this will be flagged. Terrorists, I guess that's the word. And she's getting close to them in terms of certain things that's happening. And so, of course, she has insights and she's telling things. And there's this journal and this book that's being written, and of everything that's happening. And her life becomes in danger, and she's moving around and she's doing all of this. That is the gist of this. But it really digs into all the things I said before, where when did it become more of the direction and the cause can change within a fight. And we know we are dealing with this even now. And there's always going to be those who are going to choose right. And there's those that are going to choose wrong because of the pain and the things that they experience. You have a woman in this who has experienced some brutality, and how she chose to deal with it, and the kind of what she wasn't willing to live with, and what she did in return. It is a gruesome situation, but then it's like, how do you analyze that situation? Because you felt for the woman and how they describe what she experienced, what her body went through, and the kind of rage she may have had at the end. So you think of so many things in this book. I think this book is very raw. It gives you bits and pieces of a different field, and I think the author may have done a lot of research in this when you think of civil war in different countries and how it is ugly, and how sometimes a path that should be this way leading to good can also have moments like this. And it's one of those books that I think I get why it won. I did not read any. I only read one more, only two, this and the other one on the list. But I think the timing in this book is kind of like what happened in the Booker, where that book wasn't my favorite at one, but the timing of that book kind of, I think, helped that book to win. And I think this is another one where the timing of the message and things that's happening in this book can sometimes influence those who read it. And because it's such a gripping story, to even though it's set in the 80s, you think about things that's happening now, and it makes you uncomfortable in so much way, because you think about, I wonder if that's the thought process of some, and the idea of the cause losing its original purpose, but then at the same time, rage, loss, suffering can make people feel a certain way and hold on to that mindset and not let go. So it is a tough one. I think this is one that I will, it is definitely a book club book. And I think I was interested to see what kind of discussion. So I just finished reading this. Finished reading literally on the 30th, the last day. And I think I want to watch some videos, because I would love to see the thought process of some people, how they felt about this book. What I would say, the writing is absolutely great. I absolutely can't say anything bad about the writing. But I do feel like the storyline is complicated. And I think that's another reason why I think the story is interesting, why it may appeal to people and people wanting this book to win. Yeah, it's a page turner for sure. It is a page turner for sure. Yeah, let me know if you've read this, how you feel. Yeah, let me know how you feel. This one is deep. This is a deep one. This is very much a very raw and deep book. So yeah, and this was how I ended the month. So I am thrilled about my 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 8. And I hope to continue reading some more. I have bigger books in July, so I don't know if I'm gonna get to 8. Well, it might, because I have some romance, but more videos to come. I do have videos to film, but I got other stuff going on. I'm trying to do it all, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know if you read any of these books and how you felt about them, whether you like it or not. I love a conversation, especially if you don't agree. I love those conversations. I love to know why people like or dislike a book. It's always a good topic for me. So, I'll see you in the next one, guys. All right. Bye.